Exactly. Critical discourse, number 2, temp 1.
Temp 2.
Oh.
Them too.
And
So, how do you guys feel about habits of mind?
They're good.
Sorry,
guys.
No. We can just go from here.
Oh, no,
So-
it's fine.
It's fine. Just leave it. Okay, so points of view in terms of sexuality. What do you guys think about that? And how we were brought up, and how you were brought up, and
I think that
in
it matters
schools.
in like how we were brought up and how we were raised. Like if like talking the other day how Christy was brought up with 6.
I have 5 siblings, 4 older brothers, 1 older sister. So,
She was never treated as if she was like supposed to be in the house with her mom or whatever.
yeah,
Whereas
it was always like kind of like both-sided. Like I fit in fine with my brothers playing outside or building tree forts or whatever, but also like helping my mom inside cleaning. So like I was kind of brought up with both.
You can see both sides, but yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed to if you had been brought up in a maybe you were an only child in a single home with just a mom or something.
Yeah, exactly.
You would see more just of the single mom, the homemaking and hard work. I don't know, single parent hard working, which would be very different than the multiple siblings,
Exactly.
brothers and sisters.
What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree.
because like I was brought up like my sister's always like, oh, like I'm always inside, whereas like my sister never lived with me, so I was always the one that was doing like outside and inside with my dad and my mom. So I was brought up in the same way. Like there was never like a distinction of where I
Right. Well, which would be different then because I know you have a sister, but sometimes you were brought up as an only child, right? So it's like, but you still were able to see both sides, which I guess is interesting to see that as well. You don't have to have all of the brothers and sister siblings in order to see that, right?
Yeah.
So I know, like, I have an younger sister, and my sister was more the, an example is, like, at Christmas time. Like, my sister will be outside helping my dad put the lights up, and I'll be inside helping my mom decorate the inside of the house. Like, and we just, like, we have our roles.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of the way we fell in. It doesn't necessarily, we weren't told.
What about
it's
you,
just the way we
Your
were.
sister's quite younger, right?
Yeah, I have a younger brother and sister. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I was raised like we were raised on a single income, so like my dad would be at home with us, and my mom would actually be the one working. So I think it's kind of different from like your guys' situations, but like I don't remember like particularly like helping out around the house. I know like some nights like I would have to clear the table or like that sort of stuff. But honestly, like even now, like it's kind of like my dad makes dinner, and then my mom clears the table, and then we all go off and do our own thing, which is kind of like how like I think the future has changed, and like how like we're so reliant on technology nowadays, and like what like our I don't know like like just like I don't know.
See, that's completely different. Like my house, it's like my parents cook dinner, and then I'm the one that has to set the table and clear the table off. Like if I was to eat with them or whatever, so it's completely different than like your side. Like I'm not allowed to leave the table until that's
So it's all
done.
cleared, yeah.
Yeah.
I bet if we talked to everybody in our class, like everything would be a little bit different, right?
Because we also talked about then how much it's changing in terms of like who sits down to a meal with their family.
If they sit
and-
down for a meal.
Yeah, and if they sit down together, and or if like if you're like I don't know in grade 4 and you're just on your own for dinner.
Yeah.
You know, like how much is that common nowadays?
Yeah,
in
well,
schools
and how much does that influence?
It brings it back to the reading from last week, the John Gatto one, where family starts at home, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Education
exactly.
starts at home.
All that's important
good
too
quote.
as well. Like sitting down at the table with your family. How was your day? What did you do today? And really like making that connection, making sure because everybody's busy and leading a busy life. But I think that a shift is that we don't sit down as much with our family and
See, I do.
and
Like if
eat.
I'm home, my parents will be like, "Are you home
Like, every
tonight?"
single
I'm like,
night?
every single dinner. Every single night we have a dinner.
Yeah.
And if I'm home, like I'll join in with it. Say with like Ryan will join in with it. But like that's like how ever since I was little, like family
Yeah.
night, family dinner. You have to be home for dinner, kind of thing.
There's always some sort of family dinner in my house because we have students, so we are obligated to have a sit-down dinner every night. It's just whether who's going to be there, and like it's rare that all five of us plus the student will be there. So it's always there. It's just whether the whole family comes. It's kind of like who's home, come get dinner, eat it, leave. Yeah. Where when we were younger, we used to like. I think I talked about this last year about high-low. Last week, remember I was talking about the high-low, one good thing, one bad thing.
Yeah.
Like, we had to share it. So like, yeah.
Which I think is cool, like sharing. Like I mean, obviously you
Sharing
didn't
is
like
caring,
it, but like
But
just
now we look
considering
back.
it, like that's your family time, kind of thing.
So now we can lead into like how points of view can change and like morph depending on your current life.
Mm-hmm.
So like how have our points of views changed since like things have changed? Like, you know how in our technology class our teacher always talks about like incorporating technology in our kids' lives, or in like it's helpful for students that come to class to have had like experience working with like apps and like all this kind of stuff just in class. So like how do you think that's changed? Has that changed at all for you guys? Like a little bit?
I think it's a new way of learning, and I think we all need to just accept it. Like kids from like my cousins who are like 2, they're touching like iPads and stuff. Like that's how they learn, and that's what's engaging for them. And then
I don't accept. I think it's wrong.
Okay, tell us why.
I just don't feel like, I don't know, like I work in a school care, the moms come to me like, guess what my kid has for Christmas? An iPad. Like, there's going to be those kids that can't afford it, those families that can't afford it, but yet you're giving it to them in school. Like, I agree that they need to be able to use the technology, but I think that it should be not used all the time. Like how our technology teacher was showing us, like, they do all their typing and everything. Like, they're not getting the penmanship that they need to write. They're not getting the actual, like, yes, they're getting the skills, but not getting the skills taught to them in the way from a teacher perspective. Like,
but kind of going back to the last one about like why schools don't educate. The basics of society have changed.
Yeah. And I agree with that, but
I think it's important to change with society, but to also keep and remember like what is important just like developing a successful child, and you need to be able to write properly. You need to have a basic understanding of spelling without spell check, right? You need to be able to function without technology as well, just because technology can break and you can't rely on it all the time, right?
Totally.
So you need to be able to, I think it's important to know how to use technology and to be exposed to it, but you also need to be able to be self-sufficient without technology.
I agree,
I think it's just a healthy balance that we kind of have to come to.
That relates to establishing new points of views and like transforming them to something that's going to work for every single student in your classroom, right?
Yeah.
Like how is incorporating technology, because obviously that's given in schools, like it's happening and we can't deny that.
Yeah.
So how are we going to be able to, as teachers, incorporate everyone's points of view in terms of technology and like make everybody on the same page and on the same track, you know?
Well, I think personalized learning a bit there, where it doesn't have to like, in some sense, some technology can almost be optional for students. I think with the extra stuff, like they can work on the iPad, or they could maybe work on a piece of paper, kind of thing. So maybe giving some choices in some sense, but making sure that students are it's a good balance. So like they have a specific time where they're required to be working on technology, and a specific time where they're required to be doing penmanship.
Like working at Bracelet, they have iPads, but it's like they use them only for free time. Like she'll do lessons on them, and like she'll use her iPad and do a lesson, so they can see how it works, but then they can go and use the iPad later and they can explore it, but like they're doing the lesson on their own paper while she's doing it on an iPad. And then when it's free choice, they get to do apps only. Like there's no games. It's like literally like you can do math app, you can do this, but it's like they think it's a game kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, I do think that kind of stuff is good for where they think it's a game, right? It's like fun play learning in some sense, which is one of the ways children learn best, right? So.
I don't like the teachers that like say like, oh my goodness, we have a whiteboard, oh my goodness, we have iPads, every lesson, everything. But I think like I think it can can enhance learning, but it can take away from learning as well.
Yeah, you have to know when to use it and when it's going to be effective, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and combine all the points of view and stuff, right? So you have to have a healthy balance of everything, and everyone just has to be cooperative as well with it.
What about like the frames of reference, kind of like going back to it, just how like the structures of assumptions through which we understand our experiences? Do we have anything to say on that?
Yeah, probably.
Like that kind of composes into like the habits of mind point of view, I guess. So
I think that.
So like how we understand like all the things that we do, like our experiences in terms of like at school or like at home. Or like...
Well, I think just how you understand your experiences and everything is going to be different depending on how you are brought up and what kind of environment you live in and what kind of environment you are in when you're outside of your home as well. And what kind of friends you make, and just who influences you the most, what kind of media you see, and from there, you develop your own frames of reference and habits of mind, I think.
Yeah.
I think we just need to understand that, like, and we've been stressing that in psychology, that everyone learns differently, and like
Yeah.
your strategy that works with some people aren't going to work with everyone else, and you got to be adaptable, and you can't let like emotion get in the way, or like your like really like personal beliefs, you know, because otherwise you're gonna mess up your students, or you know, you're not going to give them the full knowledge and thing you can. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all for now.
Check it out.
Chat later.